Welcome in, everyone, to our deep dive into the world of yoga therapy. We're going to be going way beyond downward dog today, exploring how yoga can be used for healing, not just in the gym, but like in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Our guide for this journey is this really interesting text. It's called Yoga Therapy.
It's really a treasure trove of ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
It reveals how yoga can be used to treat diseases through these specific exercises. And this has been practiced in India for centuries. It goes by the name Yoga Chikitsa.
So we're really talking about more than just fitness here. I mean, I tried a hot yoga class once, and let's just say flexibility is not my forte. But this text is making me rethink yoga in like a whole new way.
Yeah. It starts with understanding what yoga really is. The word yoga. It actually comes from the Sanskrit root yug, which means to join. And that union is all about connecting your individual self with this sense of like universal oneness.
Okay, that's pretty deep. But I can see how that connects to the physical practices, finding that harmony between body and mind to ultimately relieve suffering. And this text really emphasizes that self-control through these practices is key.
Exactly. And that's where Kriyas, Asanas, and Pranayama come in. These are the building blocks of yoga therapy.
Okay, so Kriyas are those cleansing techniques. Asanas are like the poses we're maybe more familiar with. And then Pranayama is all about breath control. Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, but how do they all like work together
Yeah.
to create this healing effect?
Well, think of it as like a system. Kriyas, they purify and prepare the body. Asanas build strength and flexibility. And pranayama regulated that energy flow. And they all work together to bring balance to your physical, your mental, and even your emotional states.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about touching your toes. It's about creating a sense of internal harmony.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the therapeutic aspect really shines. Like pranayama, for example. It helps slow down the aging process by regulating your breathing. Normally we breathe about 15 times a minute pretty shallowly, but pranayama slows that way down.
So fewer breaths, but deeper ones. It's amazing how simply changing how we breathe can impact our health.
It really is.
Yeah.
It calms the nervous system, increases oxygen intake, and it just has this ripple effect throughout the body.
The text also emphasizes setting the stage for practice, creating the right environment. So I'm thinking calming music, dim lighting, maybe some incense.
Well, those things can certainly help. The text really focuses on the essentials: a clean space, comfortable clothes, and most importantly, a focused mind. It also recommends practicing early in the morning, ideally on an empty stomach.
Ah, the early bird gets the yoga worm. Speaking of guidance, the text really stresses the importance of learning from a qualified teacher.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to asanas. You don't want to be twisting yourself into a pretzel without proper instruction.
Safety first. Now, before we dive into specific asanas, the text mentions Shavasana, the dead body pose, as a great way to start and end your practice.
It's all about relaxation, lowering blood pressure, releasing tension, and preparing both your body and mind for what's to come. It's also particularly helpful during fasting because it soothes the nervous system.
Sounds like a great way to de-stress. The text also highlights the importance of moving slowly and mindfully through each asana, focusing on poise and balance rather than rushing.
No yoga Olympics here.
Exactly. Yoga is about cultivating awareness, not just going through the motions. And that's where the Kriyas come in, those cleansing techniques.
Let's dive into those. The text focuses on 4 safe and effective Kriyas, starting with Jalaneti.
Jalaneti is all about cleansing the nasal passages.
Sure.
With a saline solution using a neti pot. It might sound a bit strange, but it's incredibly refreshing. And it's very effective for relieving congestion and sinus issues.
Oh, I've heard about this. And it's supposed to be great for headaches too, right?
It is.
And the text even mentions that it can help improve vision
Yeah.
and keep the head cool, which is fascinating.
Next up is Vamana Duti, also known as Kunjal. This one sounds a little more intense.
It involves drinking tepid saline water and then, inducing vomiting to cleanse the stomach. It's certainly not for everyone. But the text mentions it can be helpful for specific digestive issues and even provide relief from chronic coughs and asthma.
Definitely not your average morning routine, but I appreciate the text's emphasis on safety. It clearly states that this Kriya isn't for everyone, especially those with certain health conditions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crucial to listen to your body and consult a healthcare professional before trying any new techniques.
Okay.
Now let's move on to a Kriya that's all about energizing the body and mind, Kapalbhati, which translates to skull shine.
Skull shine. I'm intrigued.
It involves forceful exhalations through the nostrils with passive inhalations, really engaging those abdominal muscles. This powerful breathing technique is said to purify the respiratory system. increase oxygen intake, and even strengthen the nerves and brain centers.
So it's like a workout for your lungs and brain.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the text specifically mentions relief from conditions like bronchitis, asthma, and even tuberculosis. It's remarkable how something as simple as changing your breathing pattern can have such a profound effect.
Absolutely. Okay, the last Kriya mention is tritaka, which means to gaze. So this one is all about the eyes.
Yes.
Okay.
It involves gazing at a specific point, strengthening those eye muscles, relieving strain, and even improving vision.
That's fascinating. The connection between focused gazing and improved eye health is not something you hear about every day.
It speaks to the interconnectedness of the body, how seemingly simple practices can have such profound effects on different systems.
I'm really starting to see yoga in a whole new light. Now, are you ready to move on to asanas? The postures we often associate with yoga.
Absolutely. Let's explore the specific asanas and their therapeutic benefits. All right, so let's explore these asanas and, remembering that they're not just about like physical flexibility, but also about creating balance and strength within the body. And as we talked about before, starting and ending with Shavasana can really enhance those benefits.
It's amazing how such a simple pose, essentially just lying still, can be so powerful. Now, one pose that always seems to capture people's imaginations is Padmasana, the lotus pose. It seems almost synonymous with like yoga itself.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. Padmasana is considered like ideal
Mhm.
for both pranayama and meditation, and it's believed to be beneficial for heart and lung health, as well as digestion.
I can see how sitting in such a grounded and stable position could really create a sense of calmness, both physically and mentally. But I have to admit, as someone who can barely sit cross-legged comfortably, I'm wondering how achievable this pose really is for most people.
Well, it does take practice and flexibility. But, with patience and guidance, it's certainly attainable for many. And remember, yoga is a journey, not a destination. It's not about achieving perfect form, but about listening to your body and working within your own limits.
That's reassuring. Speaking of working within our limits, the text also mentions Yoga Mudra. What makes this pose unique?
Yoga Mudra is a really powerful pose that goes beyond just stretching. It tones the nervous system, strengthens the abdominal muscles, and even benefits the pelvic organs.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that one pose. Could affect so many different systems in the body. How does that work?
Well, it's all about creating these specific compressions and stretches that actually stimulate internal organs and energy channels. For example, Yoga Mudra is known to aid digestion, improve appetite, and even relieve constipation.
So it's working on multiple levels within the body, strengthening, stimulating, and balancing. That's incredible. The text also highlights Vajrasana, the pelvic pose, as another pose that's beneficial for digestion. And what's interesting is that it can be practiced even after meals.
Exactly. It's one of the few poses that doesn't require an empty stomach. It's said to aid digestion by improving blood flow to the digestive organs and can be helpful for conditions like dyspepsia and constipation.
Now, this next one definitely caught my attention. Shirshasana, the topsy-turvy pose. I'm picturing myself upside down, and honestly, I'm not sure my balance or courage is quite there yet.
Well, certainly advanced pose, not for beginners. But it's fascinating how inverting the body can have such a profound impact on our systems. Shirshasana is said to benefit circulation, digestion, and even the endocrine system.
The text mentions it can even be helpful for conditions like varicose veins, which is intriguing, but it also comes with a long list of cautions, right?
Absolutely. Any inversion pose should be approached with caution and guidance. Shirshasana is definitely not recommended for those with ear or eye problems, high blood pressure, or a weak heart.
So if Vrishasana is a bit too adventurous for now, are there any other inversions that might be more approachable?
There are. The text mentions Viparita the inverted action pose. This involves lying on your back and raising your legs overhead, supported by a wall if needed. It's a more gentle way to experience the benefits of inversion, improving circulation and strengthening the neck muscles.
That sounds much more doable. Now, another inversion that caught my eye is Sarvangasana, the shoulder stand. What are the key benefits of this one?
Sarvangasana is a powerful pose that brings fresh blood to the brain and upper body, improving cognitive function and relieving stress. It also stimulates the thyroid and parathyroid glands, which play a crucial role in regulating metabolism and hormone production.
So it's like a recharge for your brain and endocrine system. But
Yeah.
like Shirshasana, it also comes with some cautions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This pose is not recommended for those with high blood pressure, heart disease, or eye problems. It's always best to listen to your body and consult with a healthcare professional before attempting any new yoga poses, especially inversions.
Safety first. Now the text mentions Matsyasana, the fish pose, as a beneficial counterpose to Sarvangasana.
Exactly. It stretches the chest and throat, counteracting the compression from the shoulder stand. It's also said to be helpful for respiratory conditions, stimulating the lungs and helping to relieve congestion.
So pairing these two poses together creates a sense of balance and counterbalance within the body.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's a great example of how yoga seeks to create harmony and balance through opposing forces.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, as someone who spends way too much time hunched over a computer, I'm always looking for ways to relieve back tension. The text mentions Halasana the plow pose as a beneficial pose for the back.
Halasana is a wonderful pose for stretching and strengthening the entire back body. It helps to lengthen the spine, release tension in the neck and shoulders, and can even be therapeutic for conditions like sciatica and back pain.
I can already feel my spine thanking me just thinking about it. Now, what about Bhujangasana the cobra pose? It sounds pretty fierce.
It's a dynamic back bend that strengthens the abdomen, chest, and shoulders, while also opening up the chest and improving posture. It's often recommended for those with respiratory issues, as it helps to expand the lungs.
So it's a great pose for both physical strength and respiratory health. It seems like so many of these asanas have multiple benefits.
That's the beauty of yoga therapy. It addresses the body holistically, recognizing the interconnectedness of different systems.
Now, the text also mentions Shalabhasana, the locust pose, as another back bend that can be helpful for back pain.
Shalabhasana strengthens the entire back of the body, from the upper back and shoulders down to the legs and glutes. It's also said to stimulate digestion and improve spinal flexibility. However, those with high blood pressure or heart disease should avoid this pose.
It's a good reminder that while these poses are powerful tools for healing, it's essential to practice them with awareness and respect for our own limitations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for your body and honoring your own unique needs.
Okay, this next pose sounds intense. Dhanurasana, the bow pose.
It's a deep back bend that stretches the entire front body. While strengthening the back muscles and improving spinal flexibility, it's also known to stimulate digestion and can be helpful for those experiencing constipation or flatulence.
So it's a powerful pose with multiple benefits, but like with many of the other asanas we've discussed, there are cautions to keep in mind, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This pose should be avoided by those with a weak heart, high blood pressure, or ulcers.
It's always wise to check with a healthcare professional before trying any new yoga poses, especially those that are more physically demanding.
I agree. Now let's move on to a pose that offers a bit more relaxation. Have you ever heard of Makarasana, the crocodile pose?
It sounds intriguing. What are the highlights of this pose?
Makarasana is a gentle pose that's all about relaxation and stress relief. It helps to calm both the body and mind, and it's said to be beneficial for those with hypertension, heart disease, and even mental disorders.
I think we could all use a bit more relaxation in our lives. It's amazing how something as simple as lying in a specific position can have such a profound impact on our mental and emotional states.
It speaks to the power of mindful movement and how connecting with our bodies can influence our overall well-being.
Now, the text also mentions Vakrasana. What's special about this pose?
Vakrasana is a twisting pose that tones the spinal and abdominal muscles and nerves. It's also said to stimulate digestion by massaging the internal organs.
It's like a ringer for your internal organs in a good way. And the text mentions it can be helpful for constipation and dyspepsia, which seems to be a recurring theme with many of these poses.
Yes, yoga addresses digestion from many angles, recognizing its importance for overall health and well-being.
That makes sense. Okay, what about Ardha Matsyendrasana, the half spinal twist? I'm curious about the benefits of twisting poses in general.
Twists are wonderful for detoxifying the body and improving spinal mobility. They help to wring out toxins, stimulate circulation, and increase flexibility in the spine. Ardha Matsyendrasana, in particular, is said to benefit the liver, spleen, pancreas, and intestines, promoting healthy digestion and detoxification.
It sounds like a great pose for giving the internal organs a good massage. Now let's talk about Paschimottanasana, the posterior stretching pose.
This forward bend is all about stretching the entire back of the body, from the hamstrings and calves to the spine and neck. It's incredibly calming for the nervous system and can be helpful for relieving stress, anxiety, and insomnia.
And like some of the other forward bends we've discussed, it's also beneficial for digestion. But the text does mention that older people and those with stiff spines should take it slowly with this pose.
It's always important to honor your body's limitations and avoid pushing yourself too far, especially in forward bends.
That's a great reminder. Now, what about Gomukhasana, the cow face pose? It seems to be a challenging pose just from the description.
It does require flexibility, but it's a wonderfully beneficial pose that strengthens and stretches the muscles in the arms, shoulders, chest, back, and legs. It's known to be helpful for those with sciatica and can even relieve pain and stiffness in the hips and knees.
It's amazing how one pose can address so many areas of the body. Now, I'm curious about Pavan Muktasana, the gas-releasing pose. The name is pretty self-explanatory.
It is. This pose helps to release excess gas, relieve bloating, and stimulate digestion. It's often recommended for those experiencing constipation or indigestion.
The text even suggests practicing this one in the morning, after drinking lukewarm water, if you're prone to constipation.
It's a simple yet effective way to promote healthy digestion and start the day feeling lighter and more energized.
Okay, what about Chakrasana, the lateral bending pose? What are the benefits of side bends?
Side bends are great for stretching the muscles along the sides of the body, improving flexibility in the spine, and opening up the chest. Chakrasana in particular strengthens the arms, shoulders, and legs, while also increasing lung capacity.
So it's a great pose for improving both strength and flexibility. And it sounds like it will be particularly helpful for anyone with breathing difficulties.
It is. And finally, we have Trikonasana, the triangle pose. This classic standing pose is a full-body stretch that improves balance, strengthens the legs and core, and stimulates digestion.
I love how Trikonasana incorporates strength, flexibility, and balance, all in one pose. It sounds like a great addition to any yoga routine.
It is. And it's a great example of how yoga therapy utilizes postures to address the body as a whole, promoting both physical and mental well-being.
We've covered a lot of ground with the asanas. Now, are you ready to explore the world of pranayama, the breath control techniques that can further enhance the benefits of yoga therapy? Okay, so let's dive into this fascinating world of pranayama. You know, those breath control techniques that can really supercharge our yoga practice. The text reminds us that prana means vital force and ayama means control. So we're not just breathing here, we're actually like directing that vital force for greater well-being.
It's really amazing how ancient yogis recognized the power of the breath. Pranayama is all about regulating the breath in very specific ways, almost like fine-tuning an instrument, to achieve different effects on the body and the mind.
That makes sense. And just like with asanas, proper technique is crucial. So finding a qualified teacher is essential, for maximizing the benefits and avoiding strain. The text recommends practicing pranayama in Padmasana, the lotus pose, or any comfortable seated position with a straight spine.
Good posture is essential, for allowing the breath to flow freely.
Yeah.
And one of the most well-known pranayama techniques is Anuloma Viloma, also known as alternate nostril breathing.
Oh, I've heard of that one. I've even tried it a few times. It's that technique where you alternate breathing through one nostril at a time, right?
Exactly. You use your fingers to gently close one nostril while inhaling through the other, then switch nostrils for the exhalation. It's a really balancing practice, said to purify energy channels, strengthen the lungs, and calm the nerves.
It's amazing how such a simple technique can have such a profound effect. The text mentions it can even help with everything, from coughs and colds to insomnia and headaches.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of our systems. For example, by calming the nervous system, Anuloma Viloma can actually reduce stress hormones, which in turn can positively impact sleep, digestion, and even immune function.
It's a ripple effect throughout the body. Now, another technique that caught my eye is Ujjayi, or victorious breath. What's unique about this one?
Ujjayi involves creating a slight constriction in the back of the throat while breathing, which creates this soft oceanic sound. It's known to calm the mind, improve focus, and regulate body temperature.
It sounds very soothing. Does this one have any cautions?
Yes, it's best to avoid Ujjayi if you have high blood pressure. And as always, it's wise to check with a healthcare professional before starting any new breathing practices, especially if you have any underlying health concerns.
Good advice. Now, the next one sounds a bit more invigorating. Bhastrika, the bellows breath.
Bhastrika involves rapid, forceful exhalations, almost like you're pumping a bellows. It's an energizing practice that increases oxygen intake, invigorates the body, and can even help to clear the sinuses.
I can see how that would be a great way to wake up the system. Okay, let's talk about Shitali and Sitkari. These two seem to go together, both involving cooling breaths.
They are. Shitali, the cooling breath, involves curling the tongue and sipping air in through the mouth, creating this cooling sensation. Sitkari, the hissing breath, is similar, but you gently press the tip of your tongue against the back of the front teeth and draw air in through the mouth.
I can almost feel the cooling effect just thinking about it. What are the benefits of these cooling breaths?
They're said to lower body temperature, calm the mind, and even improve digestion by stimulating the flow of saliva and digestive juices.
So they're perfect for those hot summer days, or when you need to cool down both physically and mentally. Now, the text also mentions Surya, right? Nostril breathing.
This technique involves inhaling only through the right nostril and exhaling through the left. It's considered an energizing practice. That's said to awaken the solar energy within the body. It's also believed to improve digestion and enhance mental clarity.
I'm sensing a theme here. Many of these pranayama techniques seem to have multiple benefits, addressing both physical and mental well-being.
Exactly. It speaks to the holistic nature of yoga, recognizing that interconnectedness of breath, body, and mind.
And finally, we have Brahmari, the bee breath. This one sounds particularly calming.
It is. Brahmari involves creating a humming sound, like a bee, while exhaling. It's known to soothe the nervous system, reduce stress, and even alleviate anxiety and insomnia.
It sounds like a perfect practice to incorporate into a bedtime routine. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into yoga therapy, from cleansing kriyas and strengthening asanas, to the subtle yet powerful practices of pranayama. It's clear that yoga offers this really holistic approach to well-being.
It's an ancient practice with timeless wisdom. By understanding the principles behind yoga therapy and incorporating these techniques into our lives, we can cultivate greater balance, strength, and resilience in both body and mind.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to incorporate some of these practices into my daily routine, and I encourage all of you listening to do the same. Maybe start with a few minutes of Shavasana, or try incorporating alternate nostril breathing into your day.
Even small steps can make a big difference. And remember, the key is to listen to your body, honor your own limits, and find the practices that resonate with you.
Great advice. And here's a final thought to leave you with. As you explore these practices, notice how they impact not just your physical state, but also your mental and emotional well-being. Yoga therapy is more than just a set of exercises. It's a journey of self-discovery and a path towards a more balanced and fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.